think the Asian American church needs to be aware of some potential downfalls that move us away from a gospel orientation. Number one, culture. A lot of the reasons why Asian churches began in America was to maintain culture or to preserve culture. Coming from an immigrant context, you have a situation where you don't know the language, you don't know the culture, you don't know the people. And so you have to find a place where you feel like you have belonging, that you actually have an identity. And a lot of times the church was that thing. And so the idea of having a gospel orientation wasn't the primary drive of the Asian church. It was gaining cultural context and preserving that, because we don't want to lose some of that. So I think the Asian American church needs to be very careful with that. Secondarily, the other C I would say is comfort. Coming from a pan-Asian American context, there is a lot of similarities amongst all Asians in some way, shape, or form. One, the immigrant experience. Number two, as well, the latchkey kid kind of experience, as well as also a lot of Confucian ideologies that permeate Asian context. And so the honor, shame kind of context. And so you see typically Asian Americans will just congregate to one another. They'll be at a party, and if there's no Asians and there's whites, blacks, Latinos, they seem to find one another. And that's just a part of just what it is to be naturally connected. Now, I would say be careful of that because that's comfortable, right? And so the last C that I would say is we need to have a passion for the commission. One of the things that we see in scripture is God was all about removing comfort and culture as primary that drives unity. We see it first in 1 Corinthians, right? The whole context of the Lord's Supper and the fact that you have the poor and the rich that were isolating one another in 1 Corinthians chapter 11. And what's so profound about that is, what was the issue? The issue was the fact that you have the poor and the rich that were totally segregated. And as a result, it did not reflect the commission, or should I say the gospel. And it was so profound for God that you had people in that church falling over dead and getting sick because they were not walking in step with the gospel because of the two divergent entities weren't coming together and demonstrating the power of the gospel in their unity. What I'm saying is we have to realize as predominantly Asian American churches that we're not perpetuating what is supernatural by simply congregating together. That's natural. There's nothing redemptive in people coming together based on commonality. We all do that. Black, white, because you're a trucker and I'm a rapper or whatever. We all come together on those auspices. So what am I saying? We have to become passionate about the gospel. And when we do that, the world will look in and they'll see a gospel revealing community. What? A black dude and an Asian dude co-leading as pastors? You can only explain that by the gospel. When you have poor and rich under the same umbrella, you can only explain that by the gospel. And then the glory of Christ is displayed, and then God gets the glory due his name.